Good day to you. A few things I need to discuss with you. The situation about COVID and a few other things. Firstly, the recovery trial conducted by Oxford University. They have sent out a preliminary announcement, the deputy lead author, and their conclusion is that hydroxychloroquine is not effective in treating COVID. Few problems with that trial. One, even in the control group, the death rate was 23%. That is almost 1 in 4 died. So it was a highly advanced disease that they treated. So from the beginning, all those who are dealing with hydroxychloroquine have been saying you have to give hydroxychloroquine early to prevent virus entry, virus multiplication. So when you give hydroxychloroquine late, it proves the point that it's not effective. I'm not saying it was intentional, but when you realize that the control group had 23% dying and there was no difference between the treated and the control, obviously the patients were hypoxic, they were far advanced in disease, then hydroxychloroquine will not work. No point doing trials like that. Secondly, hydroxychloroquine always was successfully used by New York University Grossman Medical College, Grossman, Grossman. You only have to do a Google on NYU Grossman Medical College plus hydroxychloroquine, you get their trial result. And they treated a large number of patients with hydroxychloroquine and zinc. And they reported in their group, in a control randomized clinical trial, they reported in their group that 45% improvement of death rates they were able to show, and they found hydroxychloroquine and zinc very useful. So hydroxychloroquine acts as an iron 4 and helps transport of zinc into the cell. Now, hydroxychloroquine itself has its own antiviral action. It prevents the entry into the cell. The spike protein that attaches to ACE2 receptor, exactly at the site it does it, hydroxychloroquine acts on the ACE2 receptor, so prevents the spike protein attaching. And then hydroxychloroquine also makes the pH, raises the pH inside the lysosome so that the endophagocytosis does not occur, so that the virus can't get in. In addition, hydroxychloroquine improves zinc transport into cells. So zinc deficiency is associated with severe COVID disease, just like vitamin D deficiency is associated with severe COVID disease. So hydroxychloroquine and zinc were used together by NYU Grossman Medical College study. Secondly, in the French studies by Professor Raoult, who is a well-established, well-known researcher, he has done landmark work with Rickettsy and other. He's published, and citations are nearly 1,000. Before the problem came, he was a well-known researcher, and his methodology was using hydroxychloroquine with azithromycin. Now, it is well known hydroxychloroquine has an effect on the QT interval in the ECG, and azithromycin also has an effect like that, but he did extensive ECG coverage as well as a special ECG to keep tab of the QT interval. QT, that's a medical term, in the ECG, electrocardiogram. And they have treated nearly 4,000 very successfully with a cure rate of 92% with hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin. So azithromycin and hydroxychloroquine together have synergized pharmacodynamics, that is, on the actions of the hydroxychloroquine, the azithromycin acts to intensify it pharmacodynamically. Pharmacodynamics is how the drug acts in the body. Pharmacokinetics is how the body deals with the drug. So my name is Dr. Lalith Mendis. I live in Sri Lanka. My last substantive post was as head of Department of Pharmacology. That's why I'm doing this technical stuff. and I am published on PubMed, medically indexed, and my other research fields that you can Google and see. I go either as Dr. BLJ Mendis or Dr. Lalith Mendis. Google and see are on migraine, irritable bowel syndrome, NSAIDs, aspirin-like drugs, low-dose aspirin, levodopa, Parkinsonism, and anti-epileptic drugs. Those are the things I have extensively researched. Some are published. So that's, by the way, why I speak what I speak. Getting back to the topic, so in France, in the anti-infectious national hospital in Marseille, Professor Raoult, the professor of pharmacology, used hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin together because they have many synergistic effects on how they block the virus. Also, there's a special effect inside the lysosome. The two work together to get this the alkaline effect, the ion storage effect, proton storage effect. So that is one action. Then it also, the two work together in blocking the immune cascade and the cytokine storm. So they work together at that point also. Then there are a few other actions if you are really technically interested. I will send you the links. You can also look up Elsevier, ELSEVIER. It's a pharmacology platform, and on it, if you do Raoult, RAOULT plus hydroxychloroquine, many of these things will come up. Even if you just do hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin, what I say will come up. The point I make is, Oxford study, the recovery study, should have used hydroxychloroquine with zinc as done by Grossman Medical College, or hydroxychloroquine with azithromycin as done by the French researchers. So the recovery trial did not have continuity with researchers who have gone before. So that speaks, that is an attitude of not respecting research done before. They could also have done hydroxychloroquine alone, hydroxychloroquine plus zinc, hydroxychloroquine plus azithromycin, just the way they are trying out lopinavir and other drugs. They could have done, they should have done such publications, because there was extensive research available that hydroxychloroquine is effective. Then India did amongst 40,000 health workers and proved, Indian Council of Medical Research is published on it, proved that hydroxychloroquine is effective for prevention. Now, it is true that a drug may be effective for prevention and may not be effective for treatment. A drug may be effective for treatment and not for prevention. So both are possible, but because the Indian trials have extensively proved that hydroxychloroquine is effective for prevention, they should have taken this precaution of using hydroxychloroquine with zinc, hydroxychloroquine with azithromycin, yet another group, if they wish to, just hydroxychloroquine, along with the other sets, other arms of the trial. Then we get on to the fact that while the trial was on, they discontinued, and that the deputy deputy lead author made an announcement. Now we like to know all the data involved. We like to know the statistical analysis. We like to check up whether it was actually random. And we like to know the exact dose that was used. There is a doubt that the dose used is much less than what we use in Sri Lanka. Now, for the record, in Sri Lanka we have treated every symptomatic PCR plus COVID patients with hydroxychloroquine. And having treated about 1,200, we have only 11 deaths. So there has to be something working, isn't it? Yeah. So this is also the results in Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Turkey. In many nations are reporting where hydroxychloroquine was used, that death rates have been slashed more than by half. In US also, many states use hydroxychloroquine. Some states don't use. For instance, Florida uses hydroxychloroquine. New York State does not use hydroxychloroquine. Listen to this carefully. In Florida, the population is 27 million. COVID deaths are 2,147. In New York State, population is 26 million. COVID deaths are 26,000. That's not a joke. That's a tragedy. If there is a drug that is working elsewhere, Chinese reported it worked. South Korea reported it worked. India now has extensively reported that it works for prevention. There is no study in India available still about treatment. Probably they are treating everybody, and there were many observational studies, that is, you treat and say it worked, but of course everybody was waiting for the gold standard study of control group with no drug, other group with the drug, treated with the drug. But then in the recovery trial, hydroxychloroquine was given alone. Everywhere hydroxychloroquine was effective for treatment, they gave it with zinc in the New York University Grossman Medical College study, or they gave it with azithromycin in the French studies. So this is a little detailed thing about the why the recovery trial, much awaited, but it is much is wanted in that trial. Now, as for the vaccines, Oxford University is doubting whether they can get the necessary amount of people to enlist in the vaccine trial. Then Shanghai is saying they are 99% sure that they will get a vaccine. Now we get worried when someone is so sure about a RNA virus vaccine, because SARS came and SARS went, couldn't get a vaccine. HIV has been there for decades, couldn't get a vaccine. Because this particular vaccine is now beyond doubt, it is proved that it was a manufactured virus, this virus, because it's part of its nucleotide series, almost 80% is bat coronavirus. And then at a certain point where molecular tools are used, now molecular tools meaning an enzyme called furin, where the molecule is detached and HIV 20% is added, which gives the sharp entry of the spike protein into human cells. Professor Luc Montagnier, the one who got the Nobel Prize for describing HIV extensively, he describes it very well. If you want citations, please send us a WhatsApp to +94 77 49 59 214. So this is the scene at present. Many places are trying the vaccine. We would like a good report from the Jenner Institute of Vaccinology of Oxford University. Dr. Sarah Gilbert was leading the vaccine study. So if suddenly a vaccine pops out from somewhere and a global agency says that this is the vaccine without proper trials, we would be worried. That's where it is. So then I get on to this thing that I have been discussing sometimes to some extent with you. Who decides for us? For instance, let's take with the digital scene. I have done research on the effect of the digital screen, the pixel screen on the child's brain. Law number 1, never give the pixel screen before the age of 3. That is absolute advice by the American Pediatric Association. I repeat, no digital screen at all before the age of 3. Why? Speech scrambles. That is law number 1. Now I know for many moms this is not good news, but I have to tell you true news. The true news. The medical prescription. Again I repeat, don't give the pixel screen before the age of 3 for nothing, not entertainment, nothing. I mean once in a way just to see a little National Geographic, just rare thing, you know. Otherwise it scrambles speech. I do an empathic learning center. I see children often. Schools refer to me, doctors refer to me, my students refer to me, kids whose speech scramble. They are 6, 7, going to school, not picking up grammar, can't pick up words, because in the first 3 years of life, there is a natural facility. I think it's a gift of God that children can pick up 2 languages. When parents speak, siblings speak. They can pick up English and Sinhala, English and Tamil, or Tamil and Sinhala, whatever two languages that you practice with the child, not off the screen. All e-marketing techniques for getting to teach children is fake. Children best learn with the printed page. Now I understand online studies have become a necessity, but I am telling you the bare truth, naked truth is that children learn better, study better, remember better. Study process has collation, connection, recall, all that, committing to memory, reproducing at exams. Studying is a process. Study process is best with black and white solid print. So, but we are adapting to do certain studies on the screen. But in the formative years, best study is with the black and white screen. Even very elite schools in Australia, in England, getting back into printed books. I can send you the citations. Please go on Google, Dr. Lalith Mendis plus any digital whatever you can put down, and you will see many clips. I presented my research to SLMA, that is Sri Lanka Medical Association academic sessions last July, 2019 July. So that's law number 1, under the age of 3. Law number 2, never give the child the screen when the child is eating. Feeding time is the best time to teach good habits. Whatever they do at teaching feeding time, they remember forever. So don't start bad habits at eating time. Thirdly, don't give the screen at feed time. I know moms and dads also will say, "Ayyo, this doctor is ruining our nanny." Who's a nanny? Digital nanny. But I have to tell you the truth. Thirdly, minimize screen time of the child after 6 p.m. Certainly, after 6 p.m., no digital games, no fast cartoons, no 4K, no 8K, please. Because after 6 p.m., melatonin begins to secrete, and melatonin gives normal sleep. I had done 2 clips in this service, in these sessions. I call it happy hour. If you need it, please get the clips from us. Just send us a WhatsApp to that number that I sent you just a little while ago. So third law is, please do not give the child the screen too much after 6 p.m. So if you have got 4K at home, 8K at home, it's a very bad habit. At this point, I had to tell you, all LED lighting adds to the blue frequency effect on the child's sleep, memory and learning. So at least where the child is studying, try to give him warm CFL, not LED lights. And when you wake up in the night, don't check your smartphone, because every bit of LED stops melatonin, and when melatonin stops secretion in the brain from a little gland called pineal gland, you lose your normal sleep. When the child loses normal sleep, he wakes up in the morning grouchy, complaining, because he has not got that dream sleep, no dream sleep, NREM, REM cycles. He has not got it. He wakes up in the morning complaining, teacher is bad, shoes are bad, everything bad, can't go to school. So you need to take care of that. Fourth law is that do not allow your child to be on the screen for more than 25 minutes. Now, if it's just studying, it's okay, but not surfing, not digital games, not fast cartoons, social media from Instagram to Twitter to Facebook to blah, blah, blah. Don't do that. Then, so limit it to 25 minutes somehow. Don't fight with them, persuade them, show them what I am saying now. Say, darling, please, that uncle says your curricular potential will be affected, your sleep will be affected, your memory will be affected, your character will change, because when you're on the, how do we live, think and study? We think from our prefrontal cortex, top-down regulation. Initiation, navigation, successful and conclusion, reward. Who says reward? I myself tell myself, well done. That is important. Then what happens is, when the child is too much on the screen, he does not go prefrontal cortex top-down regulation. He shifts to amygdala, hippocampus and hypothalamus, bottom-up regulation. What is bottom-up regulation? Whatever comes from outside stimulating him. Off the screen comes LED, Tril, peril. So the child is always on fright, flight, fight mode, which means his cortisol is high, which means his immunity is low. he becomes obese, his appetite changes. He will say, I hate vegetables, I hate fruit. You know why? When you eat fruit and vegetable, serotonin gets re-established and they lose that fight, fright, flight. They feel they get a deflation because fruit and vegetable has serotonin, and that restores some of that think back and see. So they must be redeemed out of this bottom-up regulation. So what happens is you lose your child's character, you lose your child's curriculum, you lose his curricular potential, what he wants to study and do, you lose all that. Now, God has designed into us a default mode network of thought. I have to use the name of God for this. I really believe this. So we go 40 minutes think and do, that is called salience, that's operated by a neurochemical transmitter called dopamine. Then next 15 minutes during the hour, serotonin takes over. Now this is for a child after the age of 12. Before the age of 12, child operates in cycles of about 30 minutes. Before the age of 5, his cycle is about 15 minutes. So if you can occupy a child of 3 years, 5 years for 15 to 20 minutes, you grow his attention span. So so I was on this default mode network of thought. I firmly believe this is how God designed our thought pattern. So what does default mode network of thought do? 40 minutes, you salience, dopamine, do, calm down. Then serotonin takes over, check back to see how it was. So we all, adults also, we will say, I didn't study that well, I need to do it again, I need to read again, connection, collation, summarizing, all that. That is not only for curriculum, that is also for your character. You will check back and say, that wasn't right. Now, when you are too much on the screen, what happens is dopamine does not come down, it keeps going up. So what does dopamine say? Do. If it's pornography, do. If it's electronic gambling, do. Now that's the problem with, and if it's just digital games, the child wants to do more and more digital games. Fact is, the default mode network of thought, DMN, God designed. What does what that does for us is, we know when we spend 1 hour, I spent about 1 hour, we know that. When that is gone, the child is on the screen, mom goes and says, darling, you have been on the screen for 3 hours. Child will say, what rubbish, I just started. He'll have a fight with you. He has lost his sense of time. Now for adults, if you write in 2 languages, 4 A4 pages, you delay Alzheimer, you don't get it. Secondly, don't be multitasking, you're ruining your brain. Do one thing at least for 45 minutes. Take a newspaper and read for 45 minutes. Read anything for 45 minutes. Do something where your fingers are working, you're gripping, toes are working, fingers are working, because fingers and the eating time also, fingers working, all that stimulation, it is called proprioception. That stimulation is what keeps brain brilliant. The most brain brilliant activity God has given man is handwriting. You know, monkeys don't handwrite. Yeah, handwriting. Please do that as much as possible. You keep your brain ticking. You don't get Alzheimer. So the 4th thing I was on was, therefore don't allow your child to be on the screen for more than 25 minutes when he's on fast stuff. Somehow get him out. Don't fight with him. Somehow persuade him that this is not good. But Microsoft, Word or Excel or PowerPoint for studies, that's okay, they can go longer. But the problem is this: every pixel screen has a direct effect on the retina and on the sleeping pattern. So if you can get your child, particularly the old laptop without a smart screen, so get him off iPad and tab and smartphone for school studies. Absolutely necessary. Get him off iPad, tab and smartphone for school studies. Get him into a desktop and a laptop without smart screen. The digitalizing effect is much less if you can get that. Same for yourself. less you work with the smart screen, the better it is. You are saying it's a problem, but you have to shift from iPad to a laptop. And higher the PPI, the greater the effect on the retina and therefore on the brain cells. And during sleep time, brain has a super program, I think it is God designed, the glymphatic system, GLYMPHATIC. Those glial cells move all over the brain and remove the excess neurochemicals and adjust, they do a big program on the neurons, and you wake up in the morning refreshed. You are ready for another day of study or work or whatever it is. When you wake up in the morning, having not had that proper physiological sleep, you wake up grouchy, you feel not ready for the day. We know such days have been upon us. My third section for today is, you see, I have said this before, but I'll do it today. Many forces invade the family. Your child's sexual behavior, value system, what he wants to become. Entertainment has taken over big time, and he's not into management, not into detailed study and planning. Why? He's not on the digital screen has shifted them from top-down regulation, they are into bottom-up regulation. What is bottom-up regulation? Whatever is stimulating them from outside, screen, friends, drugs, whatever, they are on it on a fright, flight, fight course. Their curricular potential is dwindling. Now remember, till the age 14 that you have ability, the time to lay down your tracks, brain tracks, till the age of 14. After that, all your life you have to work with what you have. So from 17 to 24 years, your child has to get into secondary, tertiary, and the vocational course, the field he will do for life. By 24, he must be on it. If your kid or yourself, if young people are listening, I can see some young people are listening, when you're on the screen, what happens is you will not stick to one course, one curriculum. You will pressurize your parents to change curricula. You go from this course to that course, try things for 4 months, 5 months, pay another 100,000, 200,000, $500,000, engage in another thing and say, no, useless, those fellows don't know how to teach me. So that's the problem. So please, by 17 to 24, get into the secondary, tertiary vocational system, what you will become. Then from 24 to 33, achieve your 1/3 of the potential. 33 to 43, achieve your next third. Then by 43, you are thinking of others. That's how the great good shepherd has designed the world. By 43, you have got 2/3. Your next 1/3, that's half time, that's right. Next 1/3 is that you steward the life of others, the potential of others. That's the design. This was told as, I bless you to be fruitful, multiply, fill your pot, fill your plot. And from there onwards, steward what others have got, and in your field take dominion over the things that invade. So what are the things that is invading? I began on this. Your child's life, your sexual behavior. The global trend says this is the way you should go. Whether it is LGBTQ, premarital sex, postmarital sex, enough partners. So when girls have precocious sexual life before the age of 18, they end up with the HPV virus infection and with cancer of the cervix. Cervix is the top part of the vagina where the uterus begins. What causes cancer of the cervix? HPV infection, human papilloma virus infection. How do girls get that? There is naturally a membrane developing, squamous cell membrane developing at the age of 18 to protect the vagina. When you get into sexual activity before that, you get HPV virus infection, you develop carcinoma of the cervix. So what should be the advice? Advice should be, please abstain. Abstinence should be the medical advice. But what was done? A HPV virus, which vaccine was developed, and the Bill Gates Foundation did experiments with that vaccine in India, in faraway villages. Now the document is out. They did the parents did not know what they were signing. So you have to realize that science cannot be believed these days. So I started with that, the recovery trial, and the battle that has been going on. Battle that has been going on to make the world acquiesce to a vaccine which will be hastily made, and that vaccine will invade our health. Now, little talk about that since we are on it. You see, there were the triple vaccine, very good vaccine, including the tetanus, diphtheria, pertussis, and tetanus. The tetanus toxoid is the best vaccine ever designed. Its effectivity is over 90%. Now, when Shanghai says they are getting a vaccine for COVID, 99% sure of the vaccine, you are very worried. Nobody can be sure of a RNA virus vaccine. These are made viruses. These are RNA viruses without a proper structure. So SARS, they could never make a vaccine. HIV never could make a vaccine. So we are wary when Shanghai says and WHO agrees that a virus is sure to come. It's very dicey. We don't know whether it will come or not. So we will watch for Oxford virus to come properly trialed and clinically available. So then, few other things that I have to discuss. I sidetracked a little on the virus issue. So the things that invade your child's health, your child's life. Then what invades your family? Here's one example. Many kids at the age of 17, they don't, or 16, they don't want to go into A level. They say, send us to another country, spend your millions, we will get a student visa and go. So the family gets separated. This is one aspect in which the global trend is invading family. Global trend is invading children's curricula and what courses they will do, their sexual life, their entertainment world, and many other things. Global trends are invading. Now finally they have decided health is a fertile field to invade family. That's what happened. So we'll be very wary when people are proposing vaccines and different kinds of drugs. And those days, drugs were created when diseases came. Nowadays, syndromes get defined and the pharmaceutical industry gets rich. So I will stop there for today and take it up another day. I just want to have a discussion with you on where this COVID issue is and other things that are invading. Public have to know the truth. Because recently, I forgot to tell you this, both Lancet and New England Journal of Medicine lost their reputation for publishing some articles on hydroxychloroquine, and they were so politically motivated, they were meant to prove that hydroxychloroquine is useless. Now they had to retract. So when a major journal like Lancet has to retract an article, medical article, we always wonder, will the next article just be like this article? So those are some of the problems that the medical profession and the public have to be aware, because there's so much of fake news. When you start feeding on a little fake news is also addictive, just like heroin or cocaine. So take care. Thank you for listening.